This week, I asked my guest to endure one of the worst films of all time, Battlefield Earth. We wreck our eyes so you don't have to, and discuss everything wrong with this movie. And there is a lot. Welcome to a campy sci-fi version of the Wreck My podcast. Okay, so, are you guys ready for this? We're going to talk about Battlefield Earth. And for our video listeners, I want to apologize for the mess in the background, but it's thematic because this movie was such a hot mess that it works. It's a good segue. So let's move into... I think all of us did not enjoy this movie, correct?
I was expecting it to be a lot worse, though. I meant, like...
How?
Yeah, how?
Yeah.
I thought it was just going to be, like, not make any... It would just be...
It didn't make any
garbage
sense.
all over the place. But, I mean, it was just really slow, but I understood what was going on, pretty much.
I don't think it was slow. I think that it just didn't have a good story and nothing made sense.
Yeah.
Might have been my favorite movie this year. So you guys are really making me sad.
Well, I will tell you this:
I'll pick it over Star Wars.
If they told me that this was supposed to be a spoof like Spaceballs, I might have given it a little bit more leniency, because it was just absolutely ridiculous, and there were many scenes that reminded me of Spaceballs.
You never want something to like feel like a satire when it's not.
Exactly, and that's never a good thing. That's where once you release it and you see that reception, you just go, yeah, it was meant to be a comedy, and there you go. And then you just shift the genre a little bit, and you can make a little bit more money.
I guess the screenwriter made an apology for this.
Good, at least he has a conscience. So this movie came out in the year 2000. It stars John Travolta, Forrest Whitaker in his best role to date, and Barry Pepper, which I actually don't really know who he is. He played Johnny.
It looks so familiar.
Yeah, he's from Saving Private Ryan and a few other movies that were actually kind of famous movies, but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
He looks like a Sharknado kind of actor.
Yes, he kind of does. So it was directed by Roger Christian, who is better well known as the set director on A New Hope and second unit director on Phantom Menace, as well as a set designer for Alien. So the director had pretty much no directing experience outside of directing sets. So that's another bad problem here is your director is known for being a set director, and your set design was just so bad sometimes. I'm like, how did he not catch these things? You know, that's not a good mark for it.
Oh my god!
It was based on the book by Onrel Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard. The book had the same name and came out in 1982. And if that name sounds familiar to you viewers, that's because he's the founder of Scientology. And it's exactly why John Travolta really wanted to be in this movie, is because he's huge into Scientology too. They couldn't get a major studio to sign on for the script, obviously. So, and because of all the ties to Scientology, they were kind of iffy about it. They're like, there's going to be bad press. It's kind of like when Ender's Game came out and the author was like, I don't believe in gay people. And then like the whole gay community kind of banded against it. So that's never a good thing. So what they did is they found a small indie company for a production company, and John Travolta pretty much steamrolled this whole thing himself, dumped millions of dollars of his personal money into this project.
Which is what they do in Scientology anyways.
Pretty much. Every article I wrote, the Church of Scientology is adamant about that we didn't help fund this at all. They don't want any ties. And I'm not sure if that's just because they don't want any conflict of interest going on, or if they're like, this movie is terrible. We do not want to be tied to it.
I think it's the latter.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, no, they don't put their own money out. They convince people to give them their money.
Well, it's funny because the majority of money that was made for this movie actually went to a bunch of organizations, nonprofit organizations that revolve around Scientology, but not to the actual church. So a lot of like literature organizations that promote Scientology and stuff like that. So that was kind of interesting. And it has probably one of the worst scores on Rotten Tomato, standing at 3%. A nice 3%.
I mean, they just gave up on using music for a lot of scenes. They just like the first chase fight scene. They just had no music.
Well, that was
sound effects of things falling.
It was bad.
That was one of my not biggest complaints, but one of my things I actually wrote down was the music was literally they bought like a stock measure of music and then just replayed it. So it was like
The whole time.
the whole time, and I'm like, that's the same 4 seconds of music you're just putting on repeat. It's ridiculous.
3% is 1% more than a very popular kind of milk. Like, that's not good.
That's true. Does anyone know what The Room sits at? Is that worse than 3%?
It's higher than that.
Is it higher? So is this
it's
the
better.
worst movie?
Well, yeah, here's my argument is that The Room had heart and soul and love poured into it, and this just feels like it was just a mess.
Yeah,
all
and it had a
together.
biopic about it, so you know that
Right.
that helps a little bit.
I just watched that and I wasn't as impressed as I thought it was going to be.
Who plays the guy again in it?
Franco?
Is it Franco who
Yeah.
plays it? Man,
Yeah.
what is with that guy? He plays everything.
I love that.
Was it good? I never
Oh,
watched.
yeah.
I
I
never.
was
Sorry,
expecting
it
it to be
was
more.
I never
like, a little
watched
funnier.
the source material, so I didn't really watch the biopic because I was like, I'm not gonna know.
We'll change that.
Okay.
I've seen that. I've seen The Room over 20 times, and I frequent
Have
the
you played catch with
So-
him?
midnight screenings. Like, it's my life.
So you actually find enjoyment in this movie? Isn't it known for not being able to find enjoyment in it? Is it, or is that just a misconception I have for not really knowing anything about it?
Oh, well, the Room is known for being so bad that you love it.
Okay.
Right? And I am a connoisseur of bad cinema.
So it's so bad it's good, where this is so bad it's still bad.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
It's so bad it's forgettable. Like,
Okay.
I want something to be so bad that I can talk about it later and like be laughing and like have
There
this whole
weren't
thing.
laughable moments in
Nothing
this
made
movie.
me laugh. I was
Yeah.
just, I felt like 2 hours
There were
went away.
there were 2 moments where I did laugh out loud actually because of the ridiculousness of it. I like the idea that that John Travolta's character sends the humans out to find their favorite food because he assumes that while they're scavenging and trying to just survive, they're gonna find their favorite food like a
Right.
burger or something. And he's like,
raw
and they
rats.
find a rat that's not cooked, so he thinks that's what they love to eat. That kind of cracked me up. But then the other thing is, near the beginning, they are talking about the gods, which are us,
Right.
humanity, what we did before the apocalypse, and they're like, they used to drive their horseless carriages through the golden arches and food would appear. And I'm like, drive-throughs, that's what we're known for. Fast food drive-throughs. I love it.
Well,
That's
I like
funny.
how what stood the test of time is phrases like "easy as pie" or
Easy as pie. Yeah, the
Piece of
Carlo
cake,
characters.
piece of cake,
yeah,
yeah.
piece of cake. Yeah,
and
like
grass is always greener
I guess
on the
if you
other
want to
side.
read, if you
Well,
want
we
to
don't know
read
what a
that
mannequin
far,
is.
yeah, if you want to read that far into it, it's kind of funny that yes, it was like these cavemen characters that you would think is like ancient times, but they're saying a bunch of phrases that we would have said in the early aughts. So that's true. That is kind of funny, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I mean the only caveman qualities are their hair, and then the fact that the one guy likes to grunt.
Yeah, and the main character's forehead.
yes.
That's the only thing that was caveman about it.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's get into the plot breakdown first of this. So you guys jump in if I miss anything here. So we start off, and it's, am I too loud? I feel like I'm a little too loud. I'm going to turn myself down just a tad, guys. All right, there we go. So we start off, and it's the year 3000, and it tells us man is endangered. So we've reverted back to primitive life, and we're kind of dwelling in caves and everything. They talk a lot about gods and demons, which we later find out the gods are us, humanity in the 90s, pretty much, and the demons are the alien race that we
No, the demons are the mini golf dinosaurs.
Okay, no, those are the monsters.
Yeah, those are monsters.
Those are the
Oh,
monsters because
sorry.
they say about the monsters, and yes, you find out it's a bunch of mini golf characters, which I guess that is kind of funny too. The problem is the moments that are funny in your mind when you say it and you create your own imagination of it is funnier than what they portrayed on the screen because it wasn't that funny. So yes, we find out then our main character, who we don't find out his name till probably near the end of the movie.
Yeah, 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
When he's about to jump off a cliff.
Exactly. Then that's the first time we hear someone yell his name. But do you want to tell us what his name is, Cam?
His name is Johnny Goodboy.
Yes, Johnny Goodboy Tyler. So
didn't know Tyler was-
Yeah, so his last name is Tyler. He decides he's going to leave his cave village and go out and see the grass is greener on the other side and see what's out there because he's tired of living scared and on the outskirts of whatever Earth is become. He wants to go adventure. So from there, he meets some other humans in a dystopian city, which I think was supposed to be New York. Do we know what it was supposed to be? I don't know.
I thought they were
It was a nondescript city.
It said
Colorado.
Denver,
Oh,
right?
was it?
They get captured and taken to Denver.
Oh.
where the-
Yeah, because I was
where
trying to figure out where they were from the beginning.
well. They showed the Aspen sign when he's going back.
Oh, well, maybe it's sometime. I guess
somewhere
it
in
could have
Colorado.
taken place in Colorado then. So we'll say somewhere in Colorado, and they're captured by a big alien. So this part I cracked up because
At a mall.
Yeah, it's at a mall. They're in a mall, and so the laser gun that he shoots, first off, terrible effect. But when it hits something, it's like those air rockets, just way more. So like if you get hit by it, you just fly forward. I'm like, that actually seems kind of fun. I wouldn't mind getting hit by one of those and just like taking a little flight, that'd be kind of cool.
We were talking about trying to figure out the mechanics of that gun. Like it shot off like the payphone sign and it broke clean in half.
Yes.
But then was also like impacting things and shooting it like a wave. And we're like,
yes.
What kind of gun is that?
Well, let's also go further into the movie real quick. And he shoots off his friend's hand clean off.
Oh yeah, and it's a nub.
Nub. No blood.
And no reaction
So this
either.
gun
He's just like,
also cauterizes what it hits for you.
Okay.
There was no
It's
blood.
like
the
a
whole
lightsaber.
movie.
Yeah, no
no
blood.
blood.
Yeah, it's pretty much a lightsaber gun, which I guess
Ooh.
would be kind of interesting if that was real and not so corny. But this big alien captures the human group that we now see with our main character. He's with 2 or 3 other humans, I think 2 humans. And they're taken back to this giant dome, which is where the aliens, which are called the Cyclos.
Yeah, Psycho with an L.
Yeah, exactly. So the Cyclos, this is their home on Earth because they can't breathe our air for some reason. I think there's something to do with radiation. It's a huge plot hole because the way they explain it makes no sense for their plan later in the movie. So just know aliens can't breathe Earth's air. Humans can't breathe the air in the dome. So they're constantly having to switch out these like nostril air filter things, which is a mechanic for the movie that doesn't really ever work correctly. But
I don't think that's the craziest thing.
well, we'll get to it later because there's a scene later I have much problem with. Not just one scene. But anyway, the Cyclos are a race of hairy, 9-foot-tall, 1,000-pound sociopathic humanoids. And this is what I found hilarious. So when we first meet them, they have this guttural language like Klingon. They look kind of Klingon and like, and it sounds brutal and barbaric. And then it shifts because they don't want to do subtitles. So it shifts that you can hear them speaking like English, and it turns from to this faux Shakespearean, hello, we are here to conquer the world, and like
That's just Travolta.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
changes-
yeah,
yeah.
some of
He-
the other
no, he
some of
just
the other
changes it-
people were kind of like
He
that
changes
too.
his
Some of
accent
them,
as often as he wants
yeah,
to.
it was
true.
it was bad. Like I could not get over that. I hated it. But what was kind of funny or cool is that they view humanity as animals, as we would like a dog.
That's
so
pretty cool.
Well, no, it's cool because there's a scene. Yeah, that's really cool. When this is the coolest part of the movie, you know it's bad. I like it because we would assume that like a dog couldn't like work a machine or something, correct? So when our main character shoots the guy with the gun, John Travolta's character is literally like, that's impossible. And he gives the gun to the guy and goes, test it again to another guy, like run at him. And because he's like, inconceivable that this guy could actually shoot a gun off, So I thought that was an interesting, that was the one point of good storytelling in the whole movie, in my opinion. Kind of giving you this idea that they're so arrogant that they underestimate everything against them, which I'm wondering how they're such a big race that's taking over all these planets. But anyway, moving on.
I do like how they had to put in the thing that everyone says about aliens when they see Earth beings is that that dogs must be the ones in charge.
Yes, yeah, it's
'Cause
true.
They're driving them everywhere.
Yeah, people love to say the dogs are the ones pulling the humans along. We pick up their poop and we come to their beck and call. So the aliens, the Cyclos are on Earth to mine because their race is all about profit. And I kind of liked how they stole the whole alien Blade Runner idea of the corporation being this overarching hierarchy.
The home office.
Yeah, the home office.
So dumb.
I was like, guys, could you be more obvious about you're just trying to rip off Alien right now?
I mean, now you're just getting into the translation of human to psychonaut. It might be something more
are
interesting.
you saying that their language is psychonaut?
what are they called?
Cyclos. Cyclonian.
They're psychonauts to me.
They're psychonauts, yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
that's
pretty
just-
sure they're
that's
not
just, like,
psychonauts.
Human translation of whatever they're calling it.
I guess that's true, but they then say, okay, so we know that profit is kind of their overarching idea, like the higher they are in profit, and then we learn that leverage is how they get power. So
Yeah, they say the word leverage about
a
800
million times, which I'm like, is leverage a thing in Scientology? Because they made a point. Even Johnny, like at the end of the movie, is like, I now have leverage or whatever. Like, good way to go, Johnny. Johnny Good Boy
Like,
over
Vin
here.
Diesel-
Good boy.
Vin
Yeah.
Diesel got inspiration with family on this one.
So funny. Where am I? I lost my
But why did they want gold so much? Like,
Well, because they
That's
never say what their currency is for like the profit or whatever. So
Right.
yeah, like is gold really that valuable?
it's valuable to us,
And
I guess, but like in
I-
space, they could have so much cooler
We have
shit.
anything.
Anything. Well, I
Maybe
also
they use
find
gold
it,
to build
I
these
find
sweet
it,
laser guns.
Maybe. I find it extremely far-fetched that they've been on Earth for 1,000 years and they have not stumbled across Fort Knox. Like, maybe go into some buildings and check what's going around. They also make it seem like they didn't know gold was what they were mining for, because there's that scene where, like, they notice there's this gold deposit, and that's when they're, like, all for it. And I'm like, were you guys here because of gold, or do you realize that, like, hey, this is some new material that we're going to go get, and they don't know whether there's any value to it, but they're like, it's something different?
No, that the guy was hiding it from him. He's like, that vein was there. You didn't tell me. That's gold.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It was hard to keep track of what was going on because I feel like they just assumed that you know this universe. So, like, you know when you go into a Star Wars movies and we know what Jedi are now. We know what Sith are. We know the certain ideas. It's like they threw you into this movie where, like, they've had 5 movies to figure out what the heck's going on in this universe we're trying to create here. It's like,
Well,
no,
they
you're...
said they're trying to just mine minerals and whatever resources.
I
So-
guess, but they just assume you know what's going on in most of this movie. Like, they don't really explain anything too well. And it would be nice to have a scene, as much as you don't want it, you could do it well. It's like, hi, my name is Johnny, or my name is Turtle. It's kind of like in Star Wars again, where it's like, I'm Han Solo, the captain of the Millennium Falcon. It's like,
Right.
I don't mind you telling me your name because now I know your name. Where it's like, we're just going to jump in and not tell you anyone's name and hope you figure it out by the end credits. Otherwise, here's the credits. Now you know what their name is. Like, it's just annoying. So we learned John Travolta's character's name is Turl. And he's head of... Yeah, Turl.
We watched it with captions on.
Yeah.
And we were giggling because Joel Cole just goes, what if his name was Terry the whole time?
Terry.
And we're like, he's like, all like hardcore. And we're like, oh, cool, here comes Terry.
Terry, he comes into the bar. Hey, Terry. That's awesome.
I thought it was Turtle, and it was just like the guy from Entourage.
Hey, Turtle. So Terrell's his name, and he's head of security on Earth. And Turtle thinks he's getting off of Earth, but apparently he slept with the wrong person, and now they're punishing him by leaving him on Earth for another 50 cycles, which I assume is 50 years. I don't know, whatever. So he's for a long time he's stuck on Earth, which I guess is a backwater planet no one wants to be on. I mean, poor us. It's established at that moment that they can transport between worlds, and they have a very unnecessary shot of the Cyclo home world because they're like, hey, remember when they had that shot of like what Los Angeles or whatever looks like in Blade Runner? We want a shot like that with fire stacks and stuff. So they're like, just make a reason why we can show the Cyclo home world. And
They're showing us why he misses it so much. It's so beautiful.
oh yeah, it was just awesome and beautiful. It wasn't raining at all, so that's kind of better than Blade Runner,
It was
I
just
guess.
kind of
but-
constant storming.
yeah. So I thought that was really funny and unnecessary. So the humans are fighting against each other in captivity, and of course Johnny's the savior to come in and unite them all. Now Turl has a sidekick who's this bumbling idiot named Kerr, and that's Forrest Whitaker's character, which I liked him better.
Right. I also, do you think when Forrest Whitaker was in Rogue One and he put on all of that gear, he was just like, God
Not again.
damn it.
Not again. Yeah, I think so. I was done with this. He's like, at least there's not like too much face prosthetic going on, you know? I find it funny too. So all of the Cyclos are really like deformed looking and crazy. Why is John Travolta's character the only one who's still very human looking? Like he looks so dashing compared
Why?
to the rest. Like he was just like,
Because
I don't
he
want
wants to look
yeah, it's like
dashing.
I don't want my face to be covered up like everyone else. I'm like, this is weird. So, and also Turl is supposed to be the most cunning of the species, and he's kind of an idiot.
Oh yeah.
No, he thinks he's the most cunning.
No, I think that it was established that he
graduated
was
top of his class.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did anyone
kept
else
bringing that up.
get the feeling that about halfway through I'm like, am I watching Idiocracy right now?
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's what I felt like. I was like, what is going on with this?
Idiocracy is really good.
Yeah, it is really
That's
good.
way better than
And
that.
way better than this, but I was starting to be like, am I supposed to be getting this satirical vibe off of this? I don't know.
No.
I think it's just that I have a higher standard in my brain for a movie than this movie actually was. So Turl has his partner, and they come up with this idea that we're going to use the humans, the man animals, to be mining slaves because they think they're too stupid to actually do any real mining, but they're like, we need more people, we need more workers, and we're out of workers back from our home world or other planets that we've
No,
conquered.
it was because they wanted to go mine in an area that they couldn't breathe in.
Well, that too, but also he wanted to keep it off the books because he wanted all that profit for himself to buy his way back to the home world. So he was trying to skirt around, and it was against company policy for them to use man animals.
How the hell did I miss all of this?
I missed
so
that
he
for
has
sure.
a conversation with Mr. Neck Giblet guy or whatever.
Oh,
guy with-
yeah, I hate that guy.
we were laughing too much about
Yeah.
his prosthetic.
Have you guys
probably.
watched Legion?
Yeah.
I am.
Okay, so you remember Farouk, the shadow monster in the very first season, and he's that weird fat dude. It reminded me of that kind of but yeah, he looked terrible. So he establishes it's against policy to do it, and he's like, well, I'm going to do it anyway. So they come up with this idea. Turl then I think he tries to get the humans to work without being able to communicate with them, and he realized this isn't working. So what he does is he takes Johnny, puts him in a chair with a jellyfish behind him that shoots knowledge lasers into his eyes, that now makes it so Johnny can understand
And read the Declaration of Independence.
Exactly. So now he's not only can he still speak English, but he's literate. He understands how mechanics and psychic
triangles.
knows what triangles are.
So pretty much he's now a very smart person that can speak with the Cyclos is essentially what it comes down to, and he understands their processes and all that, and can read the Cyclo language and everything. So now,
and knows that people pretty much use passwords as what they're not supposed to use.
And then he realizes maybe if we do it backwards,
Password is password.
Password is password. Exactly.
so smart.
So essentially, he becomes smart, but now Turl has some leverage over Johnny because Johnny's love interest, which was like, okay, how is this a love interest?
I like how his horse ran back to the village like an hour later. I mean, in the movie, an hour later, but.
Yeah. So his love interest is there, and Turl uses that as leverage to force Johnny to get the humans to cooperate. So they're like, cool, we're going to cooperate, and we're going to mine this gold for you. All while they're coming up with this plan to overthrow the Cyclos. So the whole Cyclos can't breathe in radiation, and they die, but man can live in radiation but get radiation poisoning, and there's this whole story mechanic there that doesn't really make sense.
It all makes perfect sense.
All you need to know is if we take a nuclear bomb to the home world, it somehow implodes. That's essentially what they were trying to get across. So their plan is we're going to take a nuclear bomb, transport it to the home world of the Cyclos, set it off. The world implodes, and then we're going to destroy the dome on Earth so that the Cyclos can't breathe. So now we've gotten them off Earth. We've destroyed the home world. We're free. Freedom, America. So that's their plan. Let's see. Many people die to get the plan to work. Carlo dies in the process.
Rest in peace, Carlo.
Yeah, which
Best character.
we haven't even mentioned up to this point. But yeah, Carlo dies, his buddy and all this. And then another guy sacrifices himself with a nuclear bomb.
Oh, the redhead guy?
Yeah, I think
poor guy.
I think he was significant because the guy that Turl killed to make an example for everyone was like his brother or something.
The other
Or love
redhead
interest.
guy.
Or love interest, I don't know, sure. So some connection there. So that's why he's saying, I have nothing to live for. Let me sacrifice myself.
Carlo crashed after he tried to blow up the glass ceiling, and he was like, oh, this isn't going to work, so I'll have to crash it in.
Well,
but right before he crashes, he shoots it. It's like, why didn't you just try shooting it a few times before crashing into it?
It's a feminist critique. He shatters the glass ceiling.
Oh, I like it. So see, there's layers. Peel them back. It's like an
peel 'em
onion.
back.
It makes you cry,
Yeah, there
just
are a
like
lot
an
of
onion.
strong women characters.
Yeah,
in this
they're
movie.
great, strong women characters.
there's one?
There's one, and she wasn't even a
She's not
strong
even
woman.
strong at
No.
all.
Well, there was one female alien that was pretty strong tongue.
Okay,
Oh, her
we'll
tongue,
talk about that in a little
Oh,
bit. We'll talk
no.
about that in a little bit. So, getting back to the plot here, many people die. The plan goes off. There's a standoff between Turl and Johnny pretty much blows off Turl's arm, and the humans win.
Once again, does not react to it.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, no one reacts to anything in this movie.
No, the
It's very
aliens do.
weird.
They're like, oh,
yeah.
dang,
so
lost another arm.
essentially, the humans win. Turl is taken into captivity. We find out that Kerr, Turl's buddy, defected to the human side, and Turl is locked away in a room filled with gold. So it's this moment where he finally got his gold, but he lost his freedom, kind of thing.
Really Twilight Zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Also really end of Citizen Kane, where they just like pan back, and instead of wheeling that cart with Rosebud in it into that room of crates, it's just Turl trapped with all this gold in a warehouse full of only
Spoiler
gold.
alert, I've never seen Citizen Kane.
It is whatever.
It's whatever. Isn't it supposed to be the #1 best movie on like the AFI?
That's what a lot of old white dudes say.
That's true.
Yeah,
I guess that's
I
true.
usually only watch movies like Citizen Kane and Godfather.
Yeah, I watched Godfather, and I was actually kind of bored watching all three. Although I watched all three in one day, so that was probably a bad
That's a
idea.
lot.
It's a lot
yeah,
of hours.
I had nothing to do that day. Obviously,
my mentor's a Coppola, so
Oh, okay.
that's kind of cool. But,
Okay.
But at the same time, you're like, yeah, Citizen Kane is like, you gotta watch it, but also like, I'll just give you a synopsis. Like that's
yeah, I know. I'll just read the cliff notes.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the plot of it. So now let's talk about some things that were fun and bad in it. So the CGI, god awful. So they take these moments.
when they're landing They're landing in those like little orange explosions, and that's
Yeah, what was that about? They were exploding inside the
I
cockpit.
have no idea what it is.
It was so random.
My girlfriend was watching it with us, and she was like, "Rewind it." She was like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
and I was just like, "I have no idea."
Well, I don't know either, because then they just land and it's like, oh, it's
And
cool.
they don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we can't go this far.
That's the radiation, guys.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
It just
So-
blows up around them.
I love how they take these moments to highlight these CGI shots, but they're just terrible shots. And they're like, let's take a whole long moment to just sit on this. Like, no, you want to skip by these things real quick. It's like Sharknado. It's like, no, let's put it on screen as little as possible.
Man.
And then so the destroyed, what I thought was New York, I guess it's Denver or whatever. The destroyed cities are these terrible matte paintings.
Oh, I
like
know.
they look so bad. Like, come on, what are you doing? And then what we were talking about earlier, my favorite thing is the slow sweeping transitions where it's like a curtain pulling open, but it's like the slowest transition I've ever seen in my life.
They saved money by using PowerPoint effects.
Yeah, exactly. It was so bad. And then we also talked about too the Dutch shots. Like the whole movie
Dutch
was
angles.
filmed at Dutch angles, 45-degree angles, almost the
Everything.
whole movie.
And they
Like
would alternate back and forth, and then there'd be one bird's eye shot like
Yeah.
this. There'd be a bird's eye.
my
and then
note
it would
on
cut to
that
the-
was I got about halfway through and I go, sometimes different doesn't mean better. Like, they're like, you know what's cool? These tilted angle shots. Let's do the whole movie in it.
Yeah, it's like the camera op like had a broken tripod and never told the director.
Yeah, I just like, it's fine. They'll pay me either way.
Yeah.
They'll get it in post. It's all good. So the Cyclos, let's talk about them for a second. I love their giant kiss boots. Those are
Those are their legs.
absolutely
They're just long and
no,
sexy.
no. Those are so ridiculous. It reminded me of Spaceballs. I loved it. But we were talking about this earlier. They're supposed to be this hunter race that's super barbaric and warrior-like, yet they're fumbling around everything. They're like, hands can't hold on to anything. Their feet are like, they're shuffling along through everything.
They hold
Yeah.
guns like this.
Seriously, it's the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, can you guys make them a little bit better? Come on. And they're, like I said, their language is that guttural sound, and then they're like Shakespearean actors trying to be caricatures of themselves.
But their second language, which is evil laughter.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh my
do have a
gosh.
lot of evil laughter.
Spend like a 5-minute scene of everyone just laughing back and
I
forth.
love
maniacally.
I just remembered there was one other moment that made me laugh out loud. So when Turl's talking to Johnny and he's like, tell the humans that they will mine gold for me, and if they don't, they will be destroyed, and they are better off if they're doing it. And he does this whole big long spiel, and then Johnny goes, he's gonna kill us if we don't mine. And then Turl goes, that's it. Like that's all it's I like that. I thought that was kind of funny.
After he started popping off shots on cows' legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like wasting cows.
Yeah, like
Well,
what
we
is
can't
that?
afford to show that.
No.
Yeah.
And then the Johnny's explanation is we don't kill for sport. We kill to survive or whatever. And I'm like, you guys come from a race that did kill for sport.
Yeah, it's like you're a human, dude.
Yeah, you do kill for sport. I'm sorry.
They're now like Native Americans.
Yeah, seriously though, that's essentially what they are now. It's so funny. So let's talk about some of the rip-offs here. So Blade Runner was a huge one that they ripped off. So much from the dystopian future landscape, the cycle home world looked like it, the idea of this corporation.
And Johnny's a replicant the whole time,
Yeah.
but it's ambiguous.
We see a unicorn at the end when he wakes up. It's great. And then so Star Wars, I like the one thing I brushed over here when they have the humans fighting the aliens, the Cyclos. The humans teach themselves. They have a flight simulator at like Fort Collins or whatever. They teach a group of about 30 humans how to fly fighter jets with one flight simulator in 7 days. People who have never used machines in their life before not only figured out how to turn on a flight simulator, but how to learn to fly jets.
Yeah, they had 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, what is maybe 7 days isn't what we view as 7 days. Maybe like years and days are
If it's in
synonymous
terms of like
now.
watching this movie, it's a long.
Yeah,
7
that's
days.
true.
Log
That's
7
very
days.
true. So I thought that was like kind of a ripoff of Star Wars because they were trying to do the dog fighting in space, and it was just
Also,
pretty
though,
great.
Like when the Cyclos came in the first place, like in 2000,
Yeah.
right? Didn't the U.S. send tanks and fighter jets to fight them? And then
people
they
who
were like,
are well more educated in that.
Well, they weren't.
yeah.
Okay, so I understood that now because they weren't expecting anyone to do anything now. That was when they were invading. They probably had,
Yeah, they had a lot because if
A
you
huge
do
army
look,
and stuff.
if you do
Yeah.
look when Turl calls the homeworld and goes Operation 3 or whatever he said.
Send the gas
Yes,
drones.
send the gas drones. And you see their
Everyone's
army.
already just, like,
Their
waiting.
army is huge.
They're always just
So-
on the ready.
yeah, they're always just standing there ready to go. So and then Alien was another big one they ripped off with like some of the design of the technology and the whole corporation idea and everything. So let's talk about some general things. Or is there something you guys want to bring up that really, really just ruffled your feathers on this movie? Or
The
whole-
color blue and the color orange.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about that for a sec.
The color palette was atrocious, and alternating between the two was so jarring, specifically because blue and orange are complementary colors, to where they are exact color opposites. It just messes with your eyeballs. There is no point. There's no
Yeah.
point. And typically, color is used to emphasize a point. And we talked about this a little bit beforehand. Like the most I can gain from that was that blue is when the Cyclos are here, but then also the Cyclos were there in the orange. Like it just made no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you guys are a little bit more into like you're a fine arts. Not major. What you have your
Master.
That's what it is.
Master.
Master in fine arts, and then
Jedi
you work
master.
in like Cole work. You work in movie stuff as well.
Yeah,
So you guys,
he was the Chris Pratt's
yeah,
body
Chris
double.
Pratt body double. So you guys,
Obviously.
yeah, you guys have a lot more knowledge in that. I, the peon of the movie world, can look at this and go, that is incorrect still.
Right.
So if someone like me can see that color palette and scheme is incorrect, it's really bad because it doesn't take a lot for me to not notice these things. So yeah, I agree. I mean, be a little bit more consistent with your color decisions there.
I mean, that just means they failed as an artist, right? Like,
Totally.
As an artist, your goal is to go in and like change the world and like make someone feel something.
I don't think
and,
anyone's changing the world with this movie.
And I forgot about it, right? Like
Yeah.
you're saying things and I'm like, oh man, that happened. Like,
Well, hey, it did change the world in the sense that they held the record for the most Golden Raspberry Awards up until 2012.
Wait, what
Razzies?
dethroned it?
I don't know actually. 2012. What came out in 2012 that would have dethroned it?
2012.
Probably Star Wars.
Yes. So they had 8 Golden Raspberry Awards the year that it came out. And it also got, in 2010, the Golden Raspberry Award for the worst film of the decade. Of that decade.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah. So, hey, we think they did bad. Maybe that was their goal all along. And in that case, you win, sir. You win.
way to go, Johnny Goodboy.
Yeah, Johnny Goodboy, you win. So, another thing we've talked about a lot. That human food they give them. Did anyone
the
have?
green
Yeah,
guacamole?
Well, did any? Was it green on your TV? On mine, it
thought it
looked
was
like
just
biscuits
gray.
and gravy to me.
Yeah.
I got like really hungry for biscuits and gravy.
It was literally green.
like boogers,
It-
like boogers.
yeah.
Did you guys? You
That was
watched
their
it on the
drinks.
DVD, correct?
No, we watched it on Netflix.
Oh, I watched it on Netflix too.
I don't know. The drinks were green.
That
Yeah,
slop,
that was like a neon green.
Yeah.
The slop was green. It was
Interesting.
like green.
Well, I will tell
like
you this: I have trouble
gray-green.
differentiating between green, brown, and gray. I get those mixed up sometimes. I'm like, I don't know if I'm slightly colorblind or what, but a lot of the times,
colorblind.
maybe because a
No,
lot of
I see
times,
perfect.
Sure.
a lot of times I'm like, hey, look at that green thing, and people are like, that's brown, Jordan. What are you talking about?
Then again, the slop wasn't something I really paid attention to that hard.
Jack and Jill,
It's like
unseated.
green, gray.
That looks
dark.
green to me.
Oh, it is green.
Oh, okay, like
Like
olive.
olive,
It's an
light
olive
yeah.
green.
So Jack and
Still
Jill,
green.
Jack and Jill, unseated.
nice,
Battlefield Earth.
Oh,
nice.
no way.
Is that the one with
Adam
Sandler.
Sandler
and
Oh.
Adam Sandler.
And Adam, yeah. Ooh, okay. I guess that works. I'll give them that.
Another great
They
movie.
can
That's
dethrone.
our next. That's
yeah,
our
our next
podcast.
one.
Why are we-
Nice segue.
Why are we picking all these good movies?
Yeah, these movies are great. So I liked how they also called video pictographs. That
Yeah.
pictograph of it, and they had the first tablets, or I guess not. Star Trek probably had the first tablets, but
Yeah.
they had these little tablet things that like popped out like a floppy, but then they had video on it. I was like, interesting, taking outdated technology and putting future technology in it. I like that. Some other things. Let's talk about John Travolta's wife having a Gene Simmons tongue. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he was
hot.
kind of like hinting at her to get some work done.
I know.
Yeah, what was the point of that? Was it just like his wife was saying, hey, I want to be in this movie? Because she is in it for about that scene, and it really doesn't push the plot forward
That's
at all.
actually his wife.
Yes, that's his wife. Still to this day, I believe.
Yeah, and she looks like that in real
Poor-
life.
Yep.
Poor
Long
woman.
tongue. And also, I was like, what is the, like, I think she says, I'm going to make you feel good. And then her tongue gets all long. And
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like, so is that sexual, or is that like, are they like cats? They just like to lick each other because they're so hairy?
I
Like,
mean, they say they have like 5 wives each and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
And
I
they
think
pay
they're
for
pretty
that.
into
yeah, you
sex.
buy wives,
you
and
buy
you
wives.
like not alimony. Like this is like you actually want it.
Yeah.
It's like what the heck? It's just so weird. But yeah,
Sexist movie of the year.
well, we're gonna get into a segment at the end here that's called "What's the Theme?" So hold off on that, and we'll see. We'll see if what we can figure out what the theme of this movie is supposed to be. But I also liked. They assume so. The Cyclos come and they take over Earth.
Okay.
Lots of cultures, lots of different races, lots of different people.
Wait, it's not just a whole bunch of white people
It's
that
not
live in a cave?
that, and also they assume America is all of Earth because they go to DC and they go, "This is the village that the leaders of our world used to run out of." And I'm like, no, the leaders of America. That's not the world. As much as we like to believe it is. I'm sorry, it's not. I love that, and I also like too that everything's about like freedom, and there's all these American undertones, and I'm like, this is humanity against the Cyclos, not America against the Cyclos.
Well, if you don't like it, Jordan, get out.
Get out! Go to Canada.
It doesn't really sound like you belong in our country.
I know.
Jordan.
I'll go get my free healthcare or whatever and wait 2 weeks to be seen. So, and I also like humanity is portrayed as a bunch of frat guys. I'm pretty sure there were a few fist bumps in there, and there was just a lot of like yelling and like, oh, yeah. And I'm like,
those are cavemen.
So are fraternities. So.
True.
True, yeah, touche. And then the last thing I want to pull up here that I had a huge problem with is when they go to Fort Knox to get the money. I'm like, one of two things here. One, does Fort Knox still have gold? Because there's that whole thing, that conspiracy that like they don't actually have gold there. It's a ploy. And two, let's say they do have gold there, because I can't say one way or the other. I'm not a conspiracy theorist and I don't go to Fort Knox ever. If they do have gold there, it's supposed to be 5,000 metric tons of gold, not a tiny itty bitty little room of gold. Like, so you were wrong either way, whoever created this
Didn't you
scene.
see the pan out at the end?
Yeah, they pan out.
It was a huge.
Oh, was
warehouse.
it?
It's a warehouse.
Oh, I missed that. I must have tuned out by that part. Like,
Wow.
I was,
Everybody
I
did.
emotionally
I was
checked out too,
so
yeah.
done with the movie.
I was
by
getting
that
ready for the
point.
sequel.
Yeah, this movie I think took me 4 hours to watch because I took a break to watch an episode of The Office, like right in the middle. Because I'm like, I can't handle this
Which
right
one?
now. Which episode?
Yeah.
Man, I don't remember now.
Oh, man.
the one. It was the one where Roy comes in and tries to beat up Jim because he finds out, and then
Right.
Dwight sprays him.
Yeah.
That one is what
Good
I watched.
episode.
And then afterwards, I watched the bad episode, and I love the scene where she's like, Angela's like, "There's poop raining from the ceilings." Poop. Her face is just so perfect. I love it. Okay, so anyway, those are some problems I had. Let's talk about how this was a critical failure. Yeah, so I want to ask you guys real quick. A lot of people hated this movie, obviously.
Yeah.
There are
Us
two
included.
people. There are two people who are pretty renowned people in the film industry that gave accolades. Is that what it is?
Accolades, yeah.
Accolades to this movie. They told the director, "We loved it. This is awesome. It's the next sci-fi hit." When they saw screenings of it, can you guys guess who those two people are?
And they're big names?
They're big names.
They're in the movie.
No.
Quentin Tarantino.
Boom, you got one.
He was supposed to direct it, I think, right?
What?
Oh
No
my
way.
god.
It would
Try
have
to
been
get
so
him?
good.
That would have been actually. He probably would have made it good.
Who else?
Instead of scenes going like this, it would just be like,
Yeah. And Big
Let's go
Kahuna
other,
Burger would have
like-
been there.
Oh,
go-
yeah.
John Travolta again.
No,
this'll
not
be
John
great.
Travolta. We all know John Travolta was the only one.
And did Steven Spielberg say it was good?
It was not
Joaquin
Steven Spielberg.
Phoenix.
Not nope. It's
Oh.
another director, filmmaker, big name guy.
Ridley Scott.
No. It was George Lucas.
Lucas. Oh, I was gonna say George.
Well, okay, hang on. George Lucas thinks Jar Jar's good.
Yeah, I know.
And Quentin Tarantino was probably like out of his mind on Blow and
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
true.
"Oh, I just really want John Travolta
That's
in
true.
another movie
Well,
because
no,
we're
it's-
going off."
It was
of-
after Pulp Fiction.
it's
Yeah,
after Pulp
exactly.
Fiction. He's like, "You're my buddy."
That's why I think it was just them being nice because one,
It's Hollywood.
Roger Christian, the director, brought the movie to ILM and to Skywalker Ranch, and 3,500 people viewed this movie with George Lucas. So I feel like George Lucas just didn't want to seem like a douchebag. So he was like, "Yeah, a really good movie. Yeah, I really liked it." I don't know how to do a George Lucas impression.
That's good enough.
Yeah. So those were the only two that had anything good to say besides John Travolta about it.
But
So-
John Travolta also used the technique to record them like the alien did. He got like tricked them.
Yes.
Like
I have
okay,
a pictograph.
What,
I
would
have
you say
leverage
if
over
it
you.
wasn't this movie?
Leverage.
The top of a pitcher with like a smoke detector super glued to the inside.
Yes,
of it.
pretty
It's like,
much.
This is my recording
This is
device.
this is a little camera. So it's widely considered to be one of the worst films ever made. Reviews criticize Travolta's acting, the use of slow motion, angled shots, poor script, mediocre special effects, plot holes, and narrative inconsistencies, everything we talked about. It was supposed to be the first of two films like we talked about and was only about half of the book. Travolta describes the story as Pulp Fiction in the year 3000 or like Star Wars only better.
I agree.
And-
I agree.
Weird.
And in one interview, which I'm sure he hates saying to this day, he said, it's like the Schindler's List of sci-fi.
Oh my God.
I don't think you want to compare anything to the Schindler's List
Well,
of
it was
anything.
a major tragedy.
I mean, yes, but not a real tragedy. Yeah, it's just
What?
too much.
He's just
It's
ahead
too
of his
much.
time.
I guess, yeah. So John Travolta really loved this movie. It had a $73 million budget plus an extra $20 million in marketing. It made back globally $29 million. Not even half.
Not just domestically. That was
Nope.
globally.
Domestic was 21 million, and it made another 8 million worldwide. So they barely made back their marketing money. That's bad.
Wow.
Jon Stewart of The Daily Show has my favorite quote ever about this movie. He said, "It's a cross between Star Wars and the smell of ass." I love it. Okay, so let's move into our final little segment here that I like to call "What's That Theme?"
Okay.
So, can you guys tell me? I came up with 3 themes that I think this is about. Tell me what you guys think the theme of this movie was supposed to be.
Greed is bad.
Yes. So I said greed as well, but I put in more than just greed, capitalistic greed.
Oh, there you go. See?
Capitalism is bad. Yeah.
Jordan, I didn't know you were that punk. I like
Oh,
it. There
so
we go.
punk.
There we go.
So
Good.
punk.
Well, I was gonna say greed, but now I'm just gonna say the theme of it was, it would be, how can we make these people sick?
How can we make
That was the
That
theme.
was their theme
It
and
was
goal.
their bam, bam, their shots, and then their colored weird stuff.
If
It's
that's
like
the
riding a
actual
roller
goal,
coaster.
if that's
That-
the goal,
yeah.
I completely 180, and I love the movie.
Yeah. How dope can we get this
Yeah,
right
'cause
now?
That means that they succeeded.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Oh, you mean sick is literally like vomiting.
Oh yeah, no, that's gonna make you
So
vomit.
so you're going with the Cloverfield aspect. Like how shaky and how
Blair
bad.
Witch.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
can we get this? That's funny. Yeah. In that regards, bravo to them.
Successful.
yeah, they did a
it.
really good job.
Maybe that's why I had to take so many breaks. I was getting motion sick.
Yeah, they should.
Thank God I have a
5%
tiny
instead of 3.
TV.
I'd say it's teamwork or the power of love.
That's the power of love. I like that power of love. So my other 2 I wrote was hubris, about the aliens think they're so much better than
Right.
everyone, and I also wrote freedom because
Oh.
it was like Black Panther. I was like, I'd rather die than in the oceans. than
Spoiler
be
alert.
This was nothing like
caged
Black
in,
Panther.
yeah.
Cyclo forever.
Yeah, Cyclo forever. I love it. That's great. So tell me overall, it was a pretty unenjoyable experience, but is there anything else you guys pulled out of this movie watching it that you want to discuss here?
I pulled out a vape pen and smoked a lot.
Nice.
during it. Yeah.
Nice. Now, here's a question. Would this movie be better high?
No.
No, okay.
No. I was
You
high.
just fall asleep.
I was high.
I guess that's
Didn't
true.
help. Didn't
Because
help.
I pulled out a beer and was like, I need something to keep me going on this movie. And then I also made some dessert, and because I don't get high, so like I was like, I need my vices to like kind of make this a little bit more of a fun experience.
He's just a raging alcoholic.
I am a raging alcoholic.
I ate 3 ice cream bars and like a whole bag of mini churros.
Nice.
And that was the best part of the movie.
See, that's why I don't need to smoke weed, because I can do that like without weed. That's my normal Monday night, thing of mini churros, a few ice cream bars, we're good to go.
That's how it's done.
Yeah, it's just, what were they thinking?
I don't know. So when I first saw this movie, I was probably in junior high school.
So you've seen this movie before.
I've seen it before, but I don't remember.
I'm so sorry that
anything.
you had to see it a second time.
And I thought it looked good. Like
Yeah.
when I was like flipping through the channels, put it on, I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't remember anything. Wasn't good. Whatever. I watched it this time, and I hate my younger self for not remembering how bad it was.
Yeah.
Because then I had to watch it again, and this is just.
When I gave you the out and I said, "Are you interested?"
know.
You're like, "Why didn't I say no?"
Yeah. I'm like,
I could have easily just said, "Hell no."
I'm more stupid than this movie.
Yeah. It's just, I feel like when you know movies came out around that same year, movies like Gladiator and The Matrix and things that you could still watch today, and then you watch this and you're like, this movie was made in the year 2000. It's just sad because like it's such a bad movie. Like, I guess we still make movies today that are that bad, but it's like, I don't know.
we don't make movies that bad. Like
I guess.
think we've learned from that, like a little bit, because
Well, I haven't seen the new Fantastic Four movie yet, so I don't know.
see, I didn't know there was a new Fantastic Four.
It came out like a year or two ago.
Oh God.
I think it's kind of on the level of a lot of those straight to TV sci-fi
Yeah.
movies, but it's
Yeah.
just not as funny.
It's like an
As
asylum.
campy funny.
It's an asylum production without being an asylum production.
Yeah, sure.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that it takes itself so seriously, that's always what makes it bad.
Yeah.
If you just acknowledge that you're
kind of like
campy,
Star Wars. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, because
Too
Star
serious.
Wars is probably one of the worst franchises in modern cinema, right?
Pretty close.
No, just making sure everyone's paying attention.
No, I'm really confused.
Yeah, now I have this like inkling to like have a fight in the parking lot.
Oh,
But
okay.
like I also just kind of want to go
be
back
done.
to leaning back.
Yeah. So the rest of the show,
we're gonna talk.
really loud.
Yes, it's good.
I like it. Lean back. Yeah, what I need is those microphones that kind of just hang down, and then we can all just lean back.
We should get
And-
headsets like Backstreet Boys.
Oh, dude, we all play video games. We probably all have headsets I could just plug in. I think we do it. Okay, so let's end this on a better note than that. Let's talk about something that came out this week for a movie that I'm actually a little bit more excited to see. The Halloween trailer came out yesterday. Did you guys have a chance to see it yet? No.
No.
Are you guys fans of the Halloween franchise?
Nope.
Okay, I will tell you this. I'm not.
This is not going well.
This is not going well.
right,
Okay,
next.
good night, everyone. So I actually never saw. I wasn't a huge horror fan until I was probably 21 years old. I didn't watch anything horror. Like, I did not enjoy it. And then I started really getting into it, and I really like it now. So I'm kind of having to catch up on all the old school stuff that I never got to see. So this last Halloween, I watched a lot that I'd never seen. Friday the 13th was one of them I had never seen. I had never seen the original Halloween, so I watched that for the first time. Did not actually enjoy the original Halloween. I thought it was very slow. And the second one was a little bit better only because people died a lot quicker and more people died. But I was just kind of like, does everyone love this so much? It's not that good.
You know you can watch those movies on other days besides Halloween?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I still watch other horror films now. But when it's Halloween, I'm like, all right, let's catch up on... I can get my wife to watch all of them then because I'm like, it's festive. So we watch all that. I saw this trailer and I was like, this actually looks pretty cool. And I was excited for it. And I'm not a huge fan of Halloween myself. So I got a little stoked. So I would say go watch the trailer because there's a lot of really cool moments in it that I like. The premise of it in the trailer is that it's 40 years later or 30 years. It's however many years have gone by since the movie came out.
Still take place on Halloween.
I think so. Yeah. Always. He always.
The day after.
Michael Myers always somehow gets out on Halloween.
Halloween.
So they end up locking him up because I guess at the end of the second one, did they catch him, or the end of one of them, did they catch him?
I don't know.
I don't know
I've
either.
only
Never watched
seen
one.
Maybe on Halloween 8.5 or something, they finally caught him. But he's in like this crazy maximum security prison, and they go out, and all the people in the maximum security prison are literally chained. They're just like a big open outdoor area, and they're all chained away from each other, and they don't have much slack, and they all just stand there all day pretty much because they can't trust them to like be alone or like whatever. Right. And the psychologist comes to Michael Myers, and he's like, trying to get him to do something, and shows him the mask, and all the people around them are like freaking out, like Michael Myers has created this cult in this maximum prison and all that. And then he somehow gets out.
What?
And then he's stalked. So Jamie Lee Curtis is still alive, obviously, and she's like old now, obviously. And she's like, I pray every night that he gets out. And the guy's like, why? And she's like, so I can kill him. And she's like, I'm expert marksman now, like ready for him.
Hasn't
You know?
he been
Snap.
killed before? And
Yeah.
came back
Well,
to life?
she technically killed him in the first movie, and then he was still alive. Like, the whole idea is that he's the boogeyman. Like, he's either on bath salts or not of this world, because you cannot bring this guy down with a gun. So he ends up getting out, and the whole thing is him stalking, trying to find Jamie Lee Curtis and kill her on Halloween night, of course. And it actually looks well done, in my opinion. It's a trailer. I've seen a lot of trailers where I've seen the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, that trailer was way better than the movie was.
Maybe one of those cyclo laser beam guns can kill him.
Exactly. That's what it should be. No, it'd
Yeah.
probably just take his arm off and
he'd be okay,
cauterize
have a
it.
nub,
Yeah,
it'd be
a
fine.
nub. He could kill people with a nub. It'd be Michael Myers with a hook. It'd be pretty
Oh,
cool.
snap.
So I will say this. I also watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the first time. That was enjoyable. I liked it because it gives you that gross feeling, where you're like, ooh.
Super enjoyable.
Yeah.
So does Chipotle.
I like that. I'm literally just trying
There
to
goes
talk
our
about
Chipotle
some, yeah,
sponsorship.
Chipotle sponsorship. So anyway, if you haven't seen the Halloween trailer yet, go check that out. As we stated at the beginning, there's a new Fallout trailer as well. I like Fallout games. That's fun. I'm just talking about nothing now. So I think we're going to be done unless you want to bring up one more grievance about the movie. I think we'll be done.
I'll bring up something.
Yeah, bring it up.
So there was a good trailer that came out this week. I haven't seen Halloween, so I don't know if it's good or not. But Wreck-It Ralph, the second one.
Too.
Did that come out this week?
Yeah, the trailer.
I will tell you, I'm ashamed of myself because I've had Wreck-It Ralph sitting on my computer for the past 4 years, and I have yet to watch it.
All right, and we're out.
And we're out, yeah. Maybe that should be my next one. I'll watch Wreck-It Ralph, and then I'll sit here lonely and talk about it to the camera by myself.
Sobbing.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't watch
You could
it
just
yet.
record yourself as you're watching.
gonna wreck
That's true. I'll do a reaction video. All right, so if you want to check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, CastBox, or other major podcast apps, you can do that. I'm sure you found us on one of those. So
Everywhere but Spotify.
Everywhere but Spotify, essentially. Leave us a rating or review because that really does help us out, and it doesn't cost you anything financially, but we love it. We have a bunch of ratings, and we're at a 5-star rating, but we don't have a review on Apple Podcast app yet.
Takes too much time.
So someone go give me a review because I want to read fun reviews, and I'll give you a shout out then on the Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WreckMyPodcast. We have new episodes come out every Wednesday and sometimes on Saturday with bonus content. So I think with that being said,
Slide into
I
those
think we're done.
DMs.
If they write you a review, I'll draw them a picture of a spaceman, sign it, and mail it to them.
There you go. So first person to write a review on the Apple Podcast app, Cam will draw a spaceman.
Yeah, I'll draw a
and that's not
spaceman.
a euphemism. He'll draw you a real spaceman.
draw you a real spaceman.
Yeah. And sign it and send it to you, which will be worth millions of dollars one day after he dies because artwork is always worth more after the artist dies.
Yeah.
And with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We certainly didn't enjoy Battlefield Earth,
Not at all.
but if you didn't, screw you. It's my podcast.